All right, so in today's Pittsburgh neighborhood overview video, we're going to go over the north side of Pittsburgh. North side of Pittsburgh, this would be the city neighborhoods and the city limits north of downtown Pittsburgh. So these are all the neighborhoods that are north of downtown in between the Ohio River and the Allegheny River. So basically on the north side, kind of all starts on the North Shore here. This is where the sports stadiums are. You got Acrisure Stadium, aka Heinz Field, PNC Park. We got the Rivers Casino right here. And then North Shore has a lot of restaurants, bars, entertainment, etc., kind of catering to the sports stadium. So we got a lot of that going along right along the river. Alongside of that, we have a lot of office jobs, places of employment kind of along the North Shore as well, since it's directly across the river from downtown. So that's a lot going on the actual riverfront of the North Shore. And then we get into the neighborhoods here. This section's all flat, so there are no hills as you're in kind of, I guess you could call them the north side flats. Starting with Central North Side, aka the Mexican War Streets. That's probably the most high-end neighborhood in the north side of the city. Very cool row homes with nice features with the wood trim and architecturally just very appealing. So people are super into those houses in the Central North Side there. Very expensive. Like you're not really seeing too much buy and hold there, at least from a long-term point of view. Really any of these north side flat neighborhoods, it's more short-term rentals, maybe mid-term rentals, but we're not seeing a lot of rental buy and hold long-term just because it's mostly owner occupants that live in these neighborhoods. So the main one here is the Mexican War Streets, and then this little section here too, Allegheny West. It's not a huge neighborhood, but very, very high end as well. They have a little business district here on Western Ave, which is pretty cool. It's not a lot of you don't have a long business district in the north side, kind of like you do in some other neighborhoods, but they have some businesses there. And then we got Manchester here as well. Manchester is interesting because the closer you get to the North Shore, the more expensive it is. Whereas there's still some opportunity towards the back part of Manchester because it's definitely been gentrifying over the past 5 to 10 years or so. So it's a little tougher kind of in the south section of the neighborhood, but as you get farther north, there's still some more rundown houses, places that can be rehabbed, so you can still get some decent pricing up there. I feel like it's a matter of time, maybe with the next 5 years or 10 years, there's not going to be much left to actually renovate there. So some opportunity in Manchester. Still, they're relatively expensive to the point where I don't know if you're going to make a ton of cash flow on the long-term rental side of things, but a little cheaper as you go farther up. And then right in between the War Streets in Manchester is a neighborhood called California Kirkbride. So it's starting to kind of spill outwards to there as well. You have this little section here bounded by Brighton Road and California Ave. That's probably the closest to the War Streets. So there's some upside there for sure. And then you got the rest of this section here for California Kirkbride. It's kind of a mixture of, they have some newer build stuff there that they're working on, and then just kind of some more rundown houses that people have been starting to renovate as well. So it's getting the spillover from the expensive flat north side flat neighborhoods. Basically, you can still get long-term cash flow there for sure. We don't see a ton of houses in California Kirkbride just because it's a small-ish neighborhood, but it could work for long term with high upside for sure into the future. And then going over to the eastern side, on the north side here, we have East Allegheny, aka Deutschtown. This neighborhood is interesting because it's split in half by the interstate here, 279. So the side that is to the west of 279 is definitely the most desirable, much higher prices, especially if you get along. They have a business district here on East Ohio Street, which is really starting to clean up. They're getting some new restaurants, entertainment, bars and whatnot there. So it's a nice kind of walkable business district that is definitely on the up and up. It's catering to Deutschtown here. And then you also have Allegheny General Hospital right here as well. That's in between Deutschtown and the Mexican War Street. So obviously a hospital within walking distance drives real estate prices and rents. So that's another reason why some of these sections here are pretty high priced. Going on the other side of the highway, this section of East Allegheny, Deutschtown, it's still in progress of getting gentrified, basically. So you're starting to see some flips there. Prices are going up, but it's definitely cheaper than the other side of the highway. And this can be a good opportunity here because it's directly across the river from the Strip District, which is booming right now. Tons of jobs and entertainment there. And it's still on the flat section. So that's same thing with like the rest of Manchester. I don't really see Deutschtown on this side of the highway within 5, 10, 15 years. It'll probably be all the houses will probably be fully renovated at that point. So it's still decently expensive, but you're getting closer to being cash flowing as a long-term rental on that side of the highway. And then that's kind of the flats section there. The rest, you're either going up 65 here or you're getting into the hilly section. As you go up the hill here, basically Federal Street up, that's where the hills start. So going up from there, you get into the two neighborhoods, Fine View along with Perry South. Fine View is kind of on its own little plateau up here on the hill. It actually does have a fine view of downtown Pittsburgh. In a lot of sections, you can see a pretty good view of the city and the neighborhood. So it's mostly residential. You don't really have a business district there. And speaking of business districts, you also have a little bit here along like Federal Street. West North Ave has a little bit of business districts as well for the north side here. And the park is nice. You have the National Library there. So some good attractions here on the north side that benefit all these neighborhoods. But Fine Views, you're starting to see some flips there. The prices aren't outrageous. Not a ton of properties pop up there, but it can make sense as long-term rentals now. You can get some positive cash flow, but it has pretty good upside being a relatively safe neighborhood just up the hill from the expensive north side neighborhoods. And then Perry South here is kind of this whole section. It's still a little run down. I would definitely say it's more of a C-class area, whereas Fine View's probably maybe C+, close to a B area. C-class is definitely Perry South. Can get some cash flow there for sure. They're just, like I said, more run down, but if you're willing to put some money into the houses, they can make sense, get a little bit of equity. The ARVs aren't super high there yet, but I think as time goes on, as the north side kind of spills upwards up the hill, it could start to gentrify there as well. It does have more crime, though, for sure, in Perry South. Especially kind of like this section, I would say, is the least desirable, whereas like as you get farther down, especially along Perrysville Avenue here, a little more desirable. Basically, the farther you get north is kind of the less desirable it gets from that standpoint. So this is still Perry South as well. And then as you get farther north here, Perry North, which is called Observatory Hill. It's a decent neighborhood. I mean, it's mostly residential. I think it's somewhat undervalued as well. It's just this kind of whole general section here. You can still get stuff that like a turnkey house for under 200. It'll cash flow well. I would consider it more of a C+ area. So that's definitely a neighborhood that I like right now just because it's safe. It's right off 279. It's not far from downtown on the north side. So a lot of good things going for it. Plus, it's kind of right on the bus line there. And it has Riverview Park, which is a nice attraction for people. It's outdoor space, so that can be a nice feature too. And then the rest of these north side neighborhoods up here, there's still a lot of hills going on, like Perry North. And then as you get into Brighton Heights, this is a neighborhood I also like a lot because it's still not super expensive, but you're starting to see a lot more owner occupants move into that neighborhood. Reason being, it's got nice housing stock. It's right off Route 65 that shoots right into the city, relatively traffic free. And you have pretty good access to the North Hills as well because you're starting to get a little further north here. So, Brighton Heights itself, it's kind of section by section here. Generally, the closer you are to Bellevue, which is the next neighborhood over, Bellevue is not in the city, but the closer you are to Bellevue tends to be a little nicer in Brighton Heights. So, like, this section here is solid on the other side of Brighton Heights Boulevard, California Avenue here. And then this side here, there's actually sections that start to feel a little more rural in Brighton Heights. So it kind of gets to feel more like Observatory Hill, I guess, as you kind of get into the hill section here. And then as you start to get into closer to Marshall Shadeland here, Woods Run area, it starts to get a little less nice in Brighton Heights. It's still considered Brighton Heights, but it's kind of starting to feel more like Marshall Shadeland, which Marshall Shadeland is just below Brighton Heights. It's definitely more of a C-class area. You can get good cash flow there for sure. There just hasn't been a ton of investment into Marshall Shadeland as of yet, unless you're in this little nice pocket here. They have a couple really nice streets at the beginning, like with 1950s homes here, and then this Ingham Street's really nice. But Marshall Shadeland, I could definitely see it kind of picking up in the future just because it's a great location. It's mostly flat, kind of right off of 65 here, and then can shoot right into downtown basically. So I'd say it's Brighton Heights kind of right now first. Once that gets too expensive, then I could see kind of going into Marshall Shadeland at some point. So that's it as far as west of 279. And then going on the other side of the highway here, Troy Hill, this neighborhood's definitely on the up and up. It's benefiting a lot because it has nice views of downtown, plus you're right across from the Strip District, kind of the same thing as Deutschtown here on that side of the highway. So Troy Hill's definitely a neighborhood that's starting to see some flips happening, seen some higher price multis going there, but overall you can still get pretty good cash flow. So I think that's a good place to buy right now in 2025 that still will cash flow even as a long-term rental, but has upside in the future for appreciation and rent growth. And then once Troy Hill's kind of on its own, but then you get into, this can get kind of treacherous up here, like Spring Hill, Spring Garden, Summer Hill. It's very, very hilly up in here, like all of this basically. Decent area, but even Summer Hill a little bit too. It's just all hills essentially, so it can be kind of tough to navigate driving wise, but it's more suburban in nature. You can get some cheap houses up there. The ARVs aren't super high, but same thing there. It's probably going to benefit long term from the spillover from the north side in general becoming more expensive, especially the sections closest to downtown and the North Shore, basically. So they're all kind of similar. I would lump them all in together. Summer Hill, Spring Garden, basically above Troy Hill there. And then that's pretty much the end of the actual city of Pittsburgh neighborhoods on the north side. So that's a general rundown of the north side, what neighborhoods are more expensive than others in the city limits of the city of Pittsburgh.